Hey, what's up? I'm Alex. I'm basically going to talk to you about the whole Season 3 of Spectacular Spider-Man. Yes, we know it's not going to happen, but I looked at it as my ideas of how I would have written it. Well, I looked at it as a standard point. I watched the whole series. Kind of looked at what the direction Greg Weisman was going into, and this is my idea of how I think Season 3 would have happened, but I wrote all the episodes myself. I know these weren't going to be the ideal episodes of which were going to happen, but this is just an idea of how I wrote it. I wrote in 2 arcs coming together. I wrote the Hobgoblin arc and the whole Venom and Carnage thing all together, because there is a way that this all ends out. This whole series, the 3rd season would act as the final season, which I brought in a few new faces, but probably not a lot of faces. But I only brought in the faces we did see hinted as in the 2nd season, which were Carnage, Hydro Man, Hobgoblin, and Scorpion. All these characters are brought in, and I added in the Beetle, which I thought would have been a cool character to bring in, a new character to bring in, and I wrote in some twist, and I wrote in Harry becoming the Green Goblin for a while, and I wrote down Kraven, and there's a twist, which near the end you'll find out in this series ending. Mystrio, he has his return. Kraven and Mystrio return back into the series. Kraven comes into the series twice, one for his own episode and one for the series finale. And Doc Ock comes in the series finale. So it all kind of works in together as its own continuity for my whole idea of where I think Season 3 could have worked as and how it could have worked. And these are my episodes and my episode titles and my descriptions. I probably will talk about the ideas more in the details now. Anyway, episode 1 starts out with Brand New Day. It's the plot of it is when Beetle steals tech from Oscorp to sell to Tombstone and Silverman for money, but Spider-Man must stop the Beetle. At the same time, Peter is partnering up with Flash for a health assignment. I thought this episode would have been a good idea to bring in the whole new season, bring into a new villain, a new standard point, and bring in the whole new direction to it, hence the title Brand New Day. And that was just my idea for the 1st season series opener called Brand New Day. It's just a whole new take on it. I wrote in a new person that takes over Oscorp, would be Alistair Smythe, and this kind of brought me into the idea of what would happen to Harry turning 18. And something happens in the series. A big mystery is ended at the whole series. Episode 2 is titled H2O. Oscorp, basically the plot of this episode is Oscorp tests a body pressure suit to go underwater, which is tested by Morris Bench, but when the test fails in an accident, Morris Bench becomes Hydro Man and tries to get revenge on Alistair Smythe, who becomes the CEO of Oscorp and the person who causes him to become Hydro Man. Basically kind of acting as like, oh, he got these powers and he doesn't like, kind of like acting as like that episode. And 2nd episode to the Spectacular Spider-Man, the 2nd episode, where he kind of acts like Electro, like he doesn't want these powers, but later on he accepts it, but anyway, he becomes this villain that Spider-Man must stop, and in his own way, Spider-Man stops him. And I like this new direction of how I've written it into the next few episodes. Episode 3, The Hunt of the Hunter, is basically the plot of this one. Alistair Smythe hires Kraven to capture Spider-Man. At the same time this happens, captures Spider-Man when Calypso turns into a mutant beast, and Kraven and Spider-Man must team up to stop her. Kind of a wink-wink back to the 90s series, second team up with Craven and Spider-Man. So I kind of wanted to write a different idea. I didn't want to basically copy the same episode from the second season, so I kind of just had it as like, how can Spider-Man and Craven come back together? I didn't want to be so generic with the episodes, but I wanted to come up with new ideas for the series, and these were just my ideas. That episode 3 is basically the Hunt of the Hunter. Episode 4 is Menace of Mysterio. Again, this might be, the name is a nod to the 60s series when Mysterio first came in. But basically, Mysterio comes out for revenge for Alistair Smythe, and it's up to Peter to stop him when the cops launch an investigation on Spider-Man's identity, acting like, well, Mysterio, the Master of Illusions, is out there trying to fight Alistair Smythe. The reason why I had him go out for Alistair Smythe is I didn't want to write in detailed plot. Basically, what happened was Mysterio and Alistair Smythe was like a small, like, he basically was the person who provided money to help make the tech for Mysterio. And Mysterio, after he leaves, Mysterio feels mad and he's out for vengeance, and basically Mysterio comes out for revenge on Alistair Smythe. So that's why he comes out for revenge for him. I know it seems kind of stupid and convoluted, but the next few episodes kind of start out like the whole Harry becoming the Goblin. So it kind of enters a different way. Episode 5 is called The Scorpion Rage. It's a fun episode I written was Farley Stillwell, a scientist in biochemistry, comes to town which catches James's eye to help create Scorpion to take down Spider-Man. Basically a nod to the 90s series episode for Spider-Man fighting Scorpion, but a different episode name. Not the same idea of the episode, but concept. Sharing the same concept of the show. Well, anyway, that's episode 5. That's called Scorpion's Rage. The Scorpion's Rage. Kind of like that name. Episode 6 acts as like its own, not filler, but kind of acts as its own. On Harry's birthday, Oscorp on Harry's 18th birthday, Oscorp becomes his. When Farley Stillwell is replaced by Harry, his first act of Head, Harry passes Stillwell's Spider Slayers to get revenge on Spider-Man. Like I liked having this idea, basically, kind of like that. The episode name is like Father, like something like how Harry starts to act like his father, and like it just shows reflections of who Harry's personality is in this whole series. He starts to act like his father, and it's just, I loved it. I loved writing the episode. And we actually find out in this episode something that happens to make the next thing, but I don't want to reveal that until I get to until we get into the next episode. Originally, I wanted to have a nod to basically Hobgoblin in the first episode, but I couldn't fit that and make it work with the continuity I was writing with. So that was episode 6. That episode's called Like Father, Like Son. Episode 7 is called Sins of Fathers. Basically, the aftermath of the first episode, the Like Father, Like Son. Harry becomes a new Green Goblin when Stillwell's plans fails to capture Spider-Man. Reminds me of the 90s series. Again, the 90s series really inspired me to write these episodes. Well, because it was like, I was the series I grew up with, and it was hard to grow outside of that show. When that show was I was watching that show for ideas to help me get into the series a little bit more for Spectacular. Spider-Man was my second favorite Spider-Man series, next to Unlimited well, those were my three. The animated series, Spider-Man Unlimited, and Spectacular Spider-Man are all my favorite Spider-Man series of all time. So basically, that's Sins of Fathers, episode 7, and that's basically when Harry becomes the Green Goblin. At the end of that episode, end of episode 7, we get a little bit of Shadow, and we basically find a Shadow in the Goblin lair. So it's revealed to where the lair is, and we see a Shadow, and people think, Norman's coming back, but it's not Norman. It's not Norman. Like, do you know how in the 90s series, I think when the Punisher came and he was trying to stop Spider-Man, he was trying to stop Peter Parker because he thinks he's the Green Goblin. Basically what happens is, the Tinkerer finds one of Green Goblin's suits, and he gives it to Roderick Kingsley. The original identity of the Hobgoblin. Basically, in this episode, when the Tinkerer finds one of the Green Goblin's suits, I can't believe I'm going to say Spider-Man. Finds one of the new Green Goblin suits, he gives it to Roderick Kingsley, and he becomes a Hobgoblin with his newfound powers. He tries to take down his criminal competitors, and Spider-Man tries to stop him, which leads to a fight into the sewers, starting to the Carnage story. I know, I couldn't help myself and not write this part into this, and all the evidence leads to Ned Leeds being the Hobgoblin. It's like, even though we know it's Roderick Kingsley, it's funny that it's just a nod to the comic book. I loved the comic books growing up. Episode 9, Rise of the Ooze. It's kind of like not like a nod, but I have to say, Secret of the Ooze. Basically, what happens is when the symbiote finds Peter in the sewers, it comes back better than ever. And the symbiote has birth to another symbiote. At the same time, both symbiotes go find their new host, which breaks out Eddie Brock and Cletus Cassidy, and they become Venom and Carnage. Perfect way to write in perfect way, different way that I wanted to do. I try to steer away from not being a carbon copy of older episodes of how Carnage and Venom came together. It was a fun episode I written. I written that basically there's a line in here that Peter says. It kind of reminisces of. It's funny. He kind of like makes like. It kind of breaks the fourth wall in this episode, where in the line I written down that it kind of came into my head when I was writing this idea down. Okay, there's the two of you in the oozes. Who next am I supposed to fight? 4 talking animals? I couldn't help myself right now. That's a joke. I had so much fun writing this series. It was just so fun. Hence the name of the episode, Return of the Ooze. I couldn't help myself. I had so much fun. Episode 10, Mask of the Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin returns and Spider-Man must stop Venom and Carnage. I wanted to write this episode in here because I wanted to write the Hobgoblin and the Venom and Carnage all coming into one, because all the characters are like one of like the top 3 creepiest. I was looking for like the creepiest villains that Spider-Man ever fought. Put them together in this whole huge arc, which I think could have worked. But that's in episode 10, Mask of the Hobgoblin. Basically has Hobgoblin returns and Spider-Man must stop Venom and Carnage, and he gets help from a new mass vigilante known as the Prowler. If you know in the comics, you'll know in the next episode what happens. We get to see a different twist in this series finale. In the next few episodes. Alright, basically that's episode 10. It was a fun episode. I wrote in any funny lines, any quick nods. I did the older Spider-Man episodes. I did write it in as the idea of Spider-Man making a quirk about Hobgoblin. It says, "Funny, I thought you were the Green Goblin." Or wait, am I just gonna get black and blue all over yourself? I don't know how that. It was something like that. I don't know. It was like an older. I've written these episodes way before, and I just remembered them watching back the whole series last night. In the last 2 days, I just got back into the series. I don't know why. I just found a few episodes online, and basically, it was because my friend emailed me. He called me and said, the whole series is on iTunes. He basically converted to me. He basically emailed me the videos part by part. So he gave me season 2 for free. Awesome. Which I'll be putting on my iPod Touch to watch. So that works. For episode 11, I wrote in a fun episode called Venom's Revenge. This is episode 11. With Hobgoblin defeated, Spider-Man gets help from the Prowler to stop Venom and Carnage, and Peter has to study for midterms and helps tutor a classmate. You know this is gonna come. Hobie Brown. Hobie Brown, if you know in the comics, is the identity of the Prowler, which Spider-Man doesn't know. It was kind of a fun wink of a different twist on this idea. So we come to the last 2 conclusions of the episodes. We find out why everything happened in the whole series. Like, it ends off with a cliff note. A good note. It doesn't end up with any cliff notes at all, because I tried to write in every character that didn't get written to the series. I tried to give justice to some good characters that were going to end out the series. I brought in my favorite few characters in this series. Basically, episode 12 is called The Cartel. Yes, this might kind of blow your mind when I've written this. As Tombstone hires Hammerhead to have them force to strap Spider-Man into a fight with the Prowler. So basically, this whole time, the Prowler was just working as an agent to stop Tombstone. And we find out something in this episode that kind of makes you kind of think about, if you watch the whole series, you might actually think this sounds kind of plausible. Basically, they trap the Prowler, and Spider-Man finds out Flash Thompson is Tombstone's son. Yes. I written Flash Thompson being Hobie Thompson. The identity of Tombstone's last name is Thompson too. I think this would have been cool because I've written this as an idea, as Tombstone's son was a spy to help his dad figure out who Spider-Man is, and basically has his friends kind of help him out. So this kind of implies Hobie Brown is in the mix with them. So I kind of thought that would have been a cool twist on the series. Now season 3 finale, episode 13, The Amazing Spider-Man. Great episode name for the series finale. Anyway, in the series finale, Peter learns about his parents' death, and to Spider-Man's surprise, he finds out Doc Ock was his father's lab assistant. And Peter looks in to investigate what happened as Peter and his high school friends graduate, which Norman Osborn comes back to reveal that he was behind every event, but not the death of his parents. Ooh, mystery. Great way to bring back Norman Osborn, and it was just a fun episode, which we kind of put everything that kind of jam-packs the whole series to a good tight squeeze. And basically, the event, but not his parents' death, which leads the Kraven and Chameleon to work together. And if we read the comics, hardcore Amazing Spider-Man comics, you know. Let me say the ending. Basically, to work to protect their father from Spider-Man, which leads to the Red Skull and Spider-Man facing off. Great way to end out the series. Again, when I was writing these episodes, writing out these ideas, I was looking at it as like a big fan. Like, I was looking for every awesome idea I could pump out as like a realistic idea for a season 3. How would it work? The characters work. Everything working. That wasn't gonna happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. It's very long. I went into certain details of the series finale. I hope you guys enjoy this series. And to let you guys know, in season finale, my original intent was to write Doc Ock to be the person who causes the shit to be blown up. No! I just written him as Peter's father's lab assistant. Because in the 90s series, if you remember in a flashback, Peter says Doc Ock was his science teacher. Kind of like a mix of that. It was like a flip reversal. He didn't work with Peter, but he worked with his parents. I was looking at a flip reversal, so I thought you guys would have liked that. Seeing him face off his the true killer of his parents, ending out the good series, and I have to admit, that episode name, The Amazing Spider-Man, being the end of the series finale. I hope you guys enjoy these episodes. If you like these episodes, I've written for you guys. So the whole series, episode 1 is called Brand New Day. Episode 2, H2O. Episode 3, Hunt of the Hunter. Episode 4, Menace of the Mystrio. Episode 5, Scorpion's Range. Episode 6, Like Father Like Son. Episode 7, Sins of Fathers. Episode 8, Enter the Goblin. Episode 9, Return of the Ooze. Episode 10, Mask of the Hobgoblin. Episode 11, Venom's Revenge. Episode 12, The Cartel. And episode 13, The Amazing Spider-Man. I hope you guys enjoy this, and check out my other ideas I might throw out for a series that ended that I like. I might write ideas for other shows that were canceled, and I just thought of ideas for a second season, the next season, be its finale. Hope you guys enjoy this video, and subscribe!